Arriving like a Viking. And straight ahead the bus stop. And if you need any further information, just to get your bearings and to get an idea of how far everything is, Old Town, Vana, Tallinn, just 11 minutes by foot. I'm glad they don't put things by car, because it does get confusing when, especially when hostels say, oh, we're only 5 minutes from the station, and they mean 5 minutes by train or by supersonic plane, because it's taken you 30 minutes to walk there. But that won't be the case here, because our hostel is just a short walk, perhaps 10 minutes in that direction-ish. But as I've got time on my hands, I'm going to take a little walk around here to see what else is on view. And in the interests of fairness, I'm not here to plug Viking Line exclusively. There are also some other Baltic Sea going ferries, Tallinn being the famous one, Eskaro, and having arrived in Tallinn, there's no shortage of these big ferries that you can take a look at. If you just take a short stroll around the ferry terminals, if that's even remotely interesting to you. For most folk, of course, just want to get to our accommodation as quickly as we can. Perfectly understandable, but if you should happen to arrive early morning and you just feel like killing a little bit of time because you don't want to be that guest who arrives, you know, the one who knows damn well that check-in isn't until 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they arrive at 6 o'clock in the morning and say, oh, I'd like to check in, please. Nobody appreciates that guest. It's an interesting looking bridge, isn't it? So, if not carrying too much luggage, then why not take a little stroll? Never know what you might find. Just crossing that interesting looking little bridge. Apparently it was constructed between 2020 and 2021, so it's pretty new. There's a big supermarket, shopping mall, and selection of other shops just ahead once you've crossed that little bridge. It's called Admiral Bridge. And clearly at this time of the morning, ferry terminal area is going to be busy. There's a better view of some of the ferries. Over here, Terminal D. So if you walk to or arrive by taxi or by bus to Terminal A by mistake, you don't have to worry about needing Terminal D. If that's the case, it's just a short walk over Admiral Bridge. Here's the big shopping mall I was talking about, and I've just discovered that they allegedly house the largest indoor mini golf course in the Baltics. I'm not sure how much of a boast that is, but it did make me think, if you should arrive and the weather isn't as pleasant as it is for us this morning, I can imagine on a rainy morning you might want to kill some time if you've arrived too early for your ferry. That is an option. On the other side of the car park from Nautica Shopping Mall, there is this interesting wooden building. an old Russian Orthodox church by appearance. Seems a little bit isolated on an island of greenery. But that said, I'm glad that there's some respect for the old building and it hasn't just been condemned, knocked down and used as an extension to the car park or for some other purpose that the ferry terminal operators might have. I am straying a little bit away from the terminal just because I happened to see the Onion Dome in the distance and I thought, why not take it in? Because it's one of those things when, if you've got the time and you tell yourself, I'll put this to the back of my mind and pop back on another occasion and give it a view, you know what's going to happen. You'll never go back. Or if you do, you'll be in a hurry, or you'll forget what you actually had at the back of your mind, and this little wooden building will be something you never get to see up close. And while for some people it's not going to be important, and it isn't going to be earth-shatteringly important for most of us, I think particularly in these modern times with so many new buildings going up, it is nice to be able to see and enjoy and appreciate the fact there is still some regard for old wooden historic buildings. This one I see is protected by the look of things. It's got one of those circular discs. The street's called Archery and the disc says Kulturi Malestis. Apologies for my hideous butchery of the Estonian language. Conveniently, I didn't realise underneath it says National Monument. So there we are. 2 minutes in and we've already seen a national monument. I wonder just how old it is. Perhaps there's some information. Hundreds or 100 years old. The Orthodox Church of Estonia. It looks like St. Simeon and Anne Cathedral. And if you can understand, there are the days and times when various services will be conducted, and presumably those are the only times you can actually get access into the little wooden church. Not going to do a complete 360, but oh dear, of course the sun's against me. But despite that hopelessness, I will just try and get a decent view. Always looking out for the best angle possible, of course, to capture the line and form of such an attractive old building. Or even if it was an attractive young building, I'd be doing the same thing. There we are, cathedral. I would never have guessed it would have been given that title. St. Simeon and Anne Cathedral. Just here, all on its lonesome, surrounded by car parks. Okay, now let's get back on track towards the ferry terminal and the proper route to my hostel, which is over there. And look what's pulled up directly outside of the ferry terminal. This is ferry terminal A, I should stress. And if you're just here for a day trip from Helsinki, for example, or if you want to get your holiday off on the right step, then why not kick back on a sightseeing bus? There's the hop on, hop off Tallinn City sightseeing bus, which conveniently stops right here at Terminal A. Hadn't realised that, but once I saw it, I thought I might as well point it out. Well, that's useful. Arriving at the Tallinn Ferry terminal, and you've got a bus stop here that takes you straight to either the train station or the airport. I'm on foot, haven't got far to go, so don't need either of those, so I can continue. Hello, I've been distracted again. Well, there's plenty of time before check-in at the hostel anyway. I think that's 2 in the afternoon. And so, yeah, if you arrive early in the morning, yeah, there's no rush, and often it can be a bit of a headache. What do you do? I know they do have luggage storage there, which is handy, so I could leave my stuff and then go out and start exploring the town. But, at the moment, I'm getting distracted on the way to the hostel by ships and ferries and bridges and all sorts, and curiosities. Look at this. What the heck's going on there? Kamikaze torpedo delivery for 2, tandem with 2 seats, but yeah, an individual diving pod on the right. I don't know, but I like it. And information here, steamship built in St. Petersburg and rebuilt in Tallinn. Okie dokie. More info here. No information about if it goes out taking people on cruises or if it's still a working ship. Maybe. And now I need to head over that way to get back on track. But of course, no sooner than I said I'm going to head over that way to get back on track, I'm distracted again and going exactly the opposite direction. And isn't this interesting? 1930s tuberculosis was a serious problem here. Gosh, I suppose it was like the COVID of its day. Okay, let's have another go at getting back on track. Well, I suppose if you've got to have an ugly building site in the city, you might as well try and beautify it a little bit by letting some artists have a go at producing something interesting around the fencing. So, some nice colourful canvases. Bird life, which may or may not be native to Estonia, and plant life as well. Same goes for that. But yeah, pretty. And oh, there's a little tease at the end there in the distance. Little tease of what's to come, the old town. And as if by magic, here we are in the vicinity of the Hostel Hotel. But that's an interesting building, isn't it? Kulturi Katel. And here we are, just another 100 meters up the road. Hostel, hotel, but that's not its name. And nor is that confusing sign on that post straight ahead. That's indicating there's a Hestia hotel, Il Marina, just around the corner, it seems. But here, we're at sunny Fat Margaret's Hostel. Push, we are open. There's an invitation.